Hola and welcome to ProSpanish. So you're going to experience for yourself now how quickly you can learn Spanish when we combine these two methods. And by the way, these approaches are fully embedded in my levels 1 to 6 ProSpanish course. Okay, so let's have a look at the core language for our framework for this lesson. So nice and easy to start with. Pablo está contento. Pablo está contento. And don't worry if that seems too easy for you. I've picked that on purpose. So Pablo está contento. Pablo is content. Pablo is happy. Pablo está contento. Next we have harto. Harto is fed up. Harto, fed up. How would you say Pablo is fed up? Pablo está harto. Pablo está harto. Now, don't worry, this isn't all we're going to be looking at today. As I said, this is just the core framework. Now, what about if it wasn't Pablo, but Maria? Maria, a girl or a woman? Then we would have to say Maria está, and what would we change? If we're going to say Maria is fed up. Maria está harta. Okay, so the adjective is changing to feminine, changing the O to an A. So Maria está harta. What would it be for Maria is happy or content? Maria está contenta. Maria está contenta. Okay, next one is a useful little word, molesto. Molesto is annoyed. And just as in my levels 1 to 6 course, I'm choosing words that are going to be easier to remember at this stage. And I mentioned in a previous video about the cognitive load. So what we don't want when we're looking at structures and patterns, we don't want to be having to remember difficult words at the same time. And you can see molesto has a sort of hook in it, a kind of memory hook that makes it not difficult to remember that molesto is annoyed. How would we say Maria's annoyed? María está molesta. María está molesta. Remember, changing the O to an A because Maria's a girl or a woman. Next, we've got incluso María, incluso María. So incluso is like including, and it does actually mean that, but we can use it to mean even. So even Maria, etc., etc., including Maria, but we're going to learn this as even Maria. Incluso María. How would we say even Maria is annoyed? What would that be? Incluso María está molesta. Incluso María está molesta. Okay, so you can see here what we're not covering a lot of vocabulary or a lot of difficult vocabulary. What we are looking at this stage are the kind of conversational structures. So, incluso María, even Maria. How would we say, even Pablo's happy? Incluso Pablo está contento. Next we have la gente. La gente, people, or the people. So, la gente, the people. Now, often if you hear a Spanish person who's just learning English, so they don't know too much, and they use the people in the sentence, they will often say the people is. So the people is very happy, or the people is annoyed. In English, we would say people are, or the people, depending if we're talking about a specific group of people or not. But we would say people are happy, or the people in this building are annoyed. So there's a difference between English and Spanish. is that they count people as singular, and so they say the people is, and in English we say people are. What does it mean if I say la gente está harta? La gente está harta. People are fed up. People are fed up. Now, a more literal translation would be the people is fed up. But that's the structure in Spanish. La gente está, and remember, it's la gente. So it's feminine, and that's why it's contenta. La gente está contenta. How would you say people are annoyed? What would that be? People are annoyed. La gente está molesta. Remember again, change the molesto to molesta because it's la gente, it's a feminine word, regardless of whether those people are women or men. La gente está molesta. We could even say, la gente está molesta, incluso María. People are annoyed, even Maria. And estaba is just the past. Was. So, how would you say Pablo was happy? Pablo estaba contento. How about even Maria was happy? What would that be? Incluso María estaba contenta. And lastly, we have llorando. Llorando, crying. So that ando is the ing. Crying, llorando. And we'll just take a quick pause there while I mention our very popular Levels 1 to 6 course. This takes the complete beginner or a near beginner right up to a conversational level of Spanish in a series of very easy to follow steps. All the lessons on this YouTube channel are supplementary, whereas the core Levels 1 to 6 is very much a step-by-step program delivered by the same teacher as all the other videos on the ProSpanish YouTube channel. And while the style is very similar to what you'll be used to from these videos on the channel, the key difference is that every lesson carefully builds on the previous lessons so that you can really feel that progress of going from very little or no Spanish up to a level where you can confidently hold a conversation in Spanish. So again, that's available exclusively from prospanish.co.uk. How would you say even Pablo was crying? What would that be? Incluso Pablo estaba llorando. Incluso Pablo estaba llorando. And if we say Maria was crying, we don't change llorando to lloranda. It stays the same, and the reason is it's not an adjective, so it doesn't change its agreement, it's masculine and feminine. It's a verb, so it doesn't have gender, it doesn't have masculine or feminine. Okay, so now that we have our kind of structural framework, let's build on it. So have a look at this. Let's focus first of all on that third column where we've got some adjectives. Now we've got harto. We already know harto is fed up. We know contento is happy or can be pleased, content basically. And here's a new one. Equivocado. Equivocado. Equivocado is mistaken or wrong. Equivocado. Wrong or mistaken. Molesto, we know. And then we've got asustado. Asustado is scared. And you'll often hear in Spanish susto. Susto is a scare or a fright. So somebody might suddenly say, if you've given them a start, if you've given them a jump, they'll say, que susto, que susto. What a jump, what a scare, what a fright. So asustado is scared. And llorando, we know, is crying. So if bailar is to dance, what would bailando be? Bailando. Dancing. Bailando, dancing. And let's go straight to the first column. Nice and easy. So incluso Pablo, we know that. Even Pablo. La gente, people, the people, but in most of these phrases we would say people. And remember, it's people is, in Spanish, is how it works. And then we have además, María, whatever it might be. And this además, well, the más there, can you see an además? The más is more. So it's a bit like saying, and what's more, Maria is really happy now, for example. I'm going to use the word also as a kind of general catch-all for what's more or besides, because they all express the same thing. And also, Maria is really annoyed. Besides, Maria is really annoyed. What's more, Maria is really annoyed. So you get the idea. Además, María. Let's try one. How would you say? And besides, Maria is wrong. What would that be? Además, María está equivocada. Además, María está equivocada. And then we have todo el mundo. Todo el mundo is all the world. Or we might just say everyone. Todo el mundo. All the world, everyone. Everyone is crying. Todo mundo está llorando. And then finally there we have mi jefe. My boss. Mi jefe. My boss. And the female boss would be mi jefa. So mi jefe and mi jefa. And you see how, because we already had our framework, it's been really easy to add this additional vocabulary. So within a 15-minute lesson, you're going to go away with an awful lot of not just new vocabulary and language, but ways to use this language and to build on it. So as with the levels 1 to 6 course, we're always looking to build on what we already know. So in the middle we've got está, we know this, está is. So we've got incluso Pablo está molesto, even Pablo's annoyed. And I'm adding in estaba, so we can use the past because it's nice and easy. Estaba was. Estaba was. Okay, I'm just going to give you a few and you have a listen and work out what's being said. And this just gives you an opportunity to kind of get a bit more familiar with the language. What does this mean? Además, María estaba bailando. And besides, or also, Maria was dancing. And we could make it a bit more spicy. Además, María estaba bailando con, I'll chuck that word in there, with, estaba bailando con Pablo. Además, María estaba bailando con Pablo. Also, Maria was dancing with Pablo. What does this mean? Todo el mundo está asustado. Todo el mundo está asustado. Everybody is scared. What does this mean? Mi jefa está harta. Mi jefa está harta. My boss is fed up. So that's a female boss. Mi jefa está harta. Okay, so your turn. Use the table to say these sentences. And because quite a lot of it's already familiar, you'll often be able to look away from the table as you become more and more fluent using the language. Okay, so how would you say people are scared? What would that be? La gente está asustada. La gente está asustada. So remember, it's the people is scared. And did you remember to change it to feminine, asustada, because la gente is a feminine word. La gente está asustada. People are scared. How about even Pablo was crying? What would that be? Incluso Pablo estaba llorando. Incluso Pablo estaba llorando. How about, actually, let's use even, so the incluso somewhere else. How would you say even my boss? What would that be? Even my boss. Incluso mi jefe. How would you say even my boss was dancing? What would that be? Incluso mi jefe estaba bailando. Incluso mi jefe estaba bailando. And how about besides? People are fed up. Or let's say also, people are fed up. What would that be? Just need to move something around there. Además, la gente está harta. Además, la gente está harta. Okay, let's mix it up a little bit and make a big one here. How would you say Pablo is crying because, and I'll tell you because in a minute in case you don't know that word. Pablo is crying because Maria was dancing with, who can she be dancing with? With Miguel. So Pablo is crying because Maria was dancing with Miguel. What would that be? Oh, and because is porque. Porque, because. Pablo está llorando porque María estaba bailando con Miguel. Pablo está llorando porque María estaba bailando con Miguel. And maybe somebody could come back and say, no, Pablo está equivocado. Pablo's wrong. So we could get quite a drama going on here. Now there's a lot more practice we could do here, and there's a lot more that we could add. I could just tell you that we can change the está and estaba to you are or you were just by adding the s. So estás harto, you're fed up. Estabas llorando, you were crying. But we're going to leave it there for now. I just wanted you to see how easy it is and how quickly you can build up language. Another reminder that The Levels 1 to 6 course, the structured step-by-step course, is available exclusively from prospanish.co.uk.